So, in the face of that disastrous record, here we are debating what the Liberals are selling as the solution to the cost of living crisis that they bear so much responsibility for creating. The best that can be said of this bill is that it is an admission of failure on the part of the Liberals combined with a series of half measures. Take the carbon tax, an admission of failure. This bill repeals the consumer carbon tax. Now, if there was one policy that has been the legacy of this government over the past 10 years, it's arguably been the carbon tax. These Liberals said that the carbon tax was absolutely essential, that it was the best policy tool available to combat climate change, which they purport to be the biggest crisis of our lifetime. But not only that, the Liberals said that Canadians were actually better off paying the carbon tax. Why? Because the Liberals claimed that Canadians got more money back in the way of rebates than they paid in the carbon tax. Now, if that were true, then why would the Liberals be repealing that very carbon tax as part of their so-called Making Life More Affordable for Canadians Act? The Liberals can't have it both ways. Either Canadians were better off or worse off because of the carbon tax. This represents an admission of guilt on the part of the Liberals that for years they were misleading Canadians about the carbon tax, and that Conservatives were right all along, that the carbon tax was fueling inflation and increasing the cost of everything, contributing to the cost of living crisis. And I've got to say, with respect to the Prime Minister himself, that he likes to portray himself as someone who's very different than Justin Trudeau. But when it comes to the consumer carbon tax, the Prime Minister was one of the architects of the carbon tax as an advisor to Justin Trudeau, wherein the Prime Minister said that it was absolutely the right policy. And not only that, that it represented a model for the world to follow. And now he's done a complete 180. And so it is an admission by the Prime Minister that he got it wrong all along, and that the central key policy of the past 10 years of these Liberals was a complete failure. Now, while it's an admission of failure by the Liberals, we say it is also a half measure to repeal the consumer carbon tax. It is our position that the Liberals should repeal the industrial carbon tax. The Prime Minister's policy is to maintain that punitive tax and to continue to increase that tax year after year until 2030. It is a tax that undermines Canada's competitiveness. It is a tax that disadvantages key sectors of the economy. This at a time when sectors of the economy are grappling with 25% and 50% U.S. tariffs, tariffs that the U.S. ambassador said today are likely to remain in place for the foreseeable future. So here you have a Prime Minister who wraps himself around the Canadian flag and claims to be a great champion of the Canadian economy and Canadian workers. And here he is hitting key sectors over the head with a carbon tax hike on top of U.S. tariffs. The Prime Minister's policy, combined with U.S. tariffs, threatens to drive entire sectors such as steel and aluminum and other heavy industrial sectors out of Canada, and with that, it will cost Canadian jobs. And so it is why Conservatives are calling on the Liberals to axe the tax on everything for everyone for good, including the industrial carbon tax.